Hello, and you're all very welcome along to the latest Champ.ie podcast, Ireland's premier horse racing podcast in association with Boylesports, Gowran Park Racecourse, EJ Menswear and Shamrock Thoroughbreds.
As they race up the hill towards the finish, Hart the Herald here on Perry Pass has absolutely bolted up under Paul Townend. On Perry Pass won by wide margin. On the final 150 yards, it's Irish point for Marie National, who's coming with every stride. They're going to the line. Irish point, Marie National on the near side.
If you haven't already, be sure to like this video and subscribe to the Champ.ie YouTube channel, as it helps to get horse racing content out there to the wider audience. We look forward to reading all your hashtag 5cast selections in the comments section below. Enjoy the show.
Boylesports. Don't just bet, choose wisely.
Hello, and you're all very welcome along to the latest edition of Champ.ie, of course, where we're going to be talking all Cheltenham on this show. We are, as always, delighted to be joined by Barry Doyle. And Barry, going to give you the honour of teeing up the men beside us this week.
Well, it's welcome back to the hot seat, Mr. Thomas Coyle, one of the founding fathers, Dave, of Champ.ie. Thomas, 44% strike rate for winning place. Fantastic season last year, and it's brilliant to have you back to the show. It's been all go in the training ranks for yourself.
Yeah, it has. Good to be back, Barry. We've been talking about it for a while, but we've been busy, thank God. So
rekindling the love, Thomas.
Huh?
Rekindling the love.
Yeah. No, it's been great. We had a great year last year. Numbers are way up. New stables, new horses, new owners. Really looking forward now. About a month's time, a lot of them will be kicking in. So if we can keep the stats up from last year, we should have a very productive summer, hopefully.
And Selective Power, Tom, give you a big day, of course, and a very valuable handicap as well. That was a good win.
Yeah, he was great. He I think he went from 41 to 70 last year first. Gave the lads great crack. Obviously crowned off by winning, just holding on in the Curragh. Also placed in Leopardstown, won in Naas. No, real flag bearer last year. And to be honest, I'd say he's improved again over the break for the winter. So we'd be hoping he might sneak in maybe the end of the year to a good Premier handicap. So yeah, one to look forward to.
I think it was this time 6 years ago we might have been building up to the very first Champ.ie Cheltenham Festival. So rekindle the love, Dave. Back over to you. But yeah, brilliant to have Thomas on. I'm really looking forward to this show, and going to be building up to all the the novice hurdles, the novice chases, the championship races, and our handicap video, David, is going to be on, of course, next week, the way it's released. But we're going to look at all the handicaps on next week's show. So really looking forward to it.
Yes, and it's great to have you on with us this week, Thomas. Of course, this week is all about Cheltenham. But before we kick off, we want to give you the opportunity with your 5cast selections as well to be in with a chance to win 2 tickets to the Boylesports Grand National, kindly given to us by Boylesports. And the 5 races, the Champion Hurdle, Champion Chase, Stayers Hurdle, Ryanair Chase and the Gold Cup. Get those in down below, your selections with your name, and we will be giving those tickets away to one lucky person to get along to the Grand National on, of course, Easter Monday. Right, lads, let's kick off the show because we've a lot to get through in this show. And of course, before we kick off, we've got a really special guest this week on the show. Let's get a word from our very special guest, James Reveley.
So the big question for you is, who do you take on, John Bon or Factor File?
I think they're leaning slightly more towards a Ryanair.
Yes, and of course, we've got plenty to come from James as the show goes on. Look forward to that full interview. Right, lads, we have also Brian O'Keeffe from Boylesports. We'll be hearing from him with all the great offers they have. And a big thank you to our sponsors, Gowran Park, EJ Menswear and Shamrock Thoroughbreds as well. Let's kick it all off then, lads. We're going to start off with the action on the Tuesday. Thomas, Supreme Novices Hurdle, an 8-11 favourite at the top of the market. Does he firstly deserve to be that price? And is he a good thing?
I think so, lads. What you seen in Leopardstown was unbelievable. Even the first day of Christmas, how bad he jumped and still being able to win. But he looked a monster the last day to Dublin Racing Festival. Even if you go back to when he won the George Murner bumper in Fairyhouse, very impressive again. He seems to be improving. Obviously, he's very lightly raced with the 3 runs, but he's learned from the first day. Being honest, I can't see him being beat in this. For me, he's nearly the banker of the week and hopefully get the Irish off to a good start. Just going to give a mention to one each way price, Henry de Bromhead's Work Ahead. Very lightly raced again. Won his point of pointing, was it Lingstown, I think. And he was upsides when the second fell, and he actually went to Henry de Bromhead's as well, that Nosnary, who's not a bad handicap chaser. He's about 130, but has improved. Was third first time in Navan to Jasmine DeVoe, as we all know. He's had his jumping problems as well. But I thought he improved then to win, beat William Money, who has also been impressive last week. For a lightly raced horse, and we all know Henry de Bromhead's horses usually spark around this time. He's probably been a bit quiet lately, but he's a dangerous man coming to these spring festivals, so I'd definitely be giving him an each way shout.
Yeah, you're giving him a good shout as well. And Barry, this 8-11 favourite, are you also in the side of the favourite for the Supreme, or have we a couple of dangers in there lurking around that might be a bit of value at bigger prices?
I wouldn't be absolutely mad to take him on now, Dave. I think he is skimpy enough for Supreme Novices Hurdle. I did come out of the Dublin Racing Festival thinking that we'd seen the 2 Novice Hurdle winners for the festival being Copic de Boer and my banker. Spoiler alert to the whole festival, Dave. Final demand in the Turner's Novices Hurdle. But just back to the Supreme, I mean, Copic de Boer, the jumping was the big issue, wasn't it? On his first start, he was a really good winner of a bumper, of course, at Fairyhouse last season. But his jumping on debut, you know, it left a lot to be desired, I think. And we had Patrick Mullins on the Thyestes, build-up show, and he did mention that he just schooled Copic de Boer. He schooled brilliantly at the Dublin Racing Festival, and we saw that. I mean, the first thing I thought after his performance in Tattersalls Grade 1 at the DRF was Arkle Chase 2026. I mean, he showed loads of scope. His jumping really improved. But the big question mark for me is his temperament, and was quite buzzy, I think, in the prelims. And, he tanked for almost a mile and a half of that contest. And how he did what he did, he must have a serious engine. But go to Cheltenham wouldn't be totally ideal for me. I wouldn't be loading him up now in the banker Cumes or anything like that. I think he'll probably win. But the one that probably impressed me the most in terms of an each-way bet in the race, Dave, we were both on duty when William Money won at Punchestown. And I thought that horse, I mean, he's a nice bit of experience from bumpers last season. Barry Connell has always thought the world of him. His jumping, and he was a little bit keen on his first 2 starts of a hurdle, but the form with Cavabunga, I think, looks good from Fairyhouse. I think he'll reverse the form with the horse that Thomas mentioned, Work Ahead. And I think the big thing for me is he's loads of pace. I think he'll be a better horse in a better race. His jumping improved last time. I thought he won so easily. And look, he's double figures at the moment. If there was one each way, I thought William Money, with his experience in bumpers, and he's had the 3 runs over hurdles, he might just have an experience edge on a couple of them. Romeo Coolio for me, Dave. I'd be happy enough to take him on at the price. Salvador Mundi, I thought had done a lot wrong at Punchestown. And for me, look, William Money each way, but the favourite should take a lot of beating in truth, but I wouldn't be loading them into the multiples myself.
Barry, the Arkle, it's very straightforward, isn't it? Menswear turns up, puts in a brilliant round of jumping and wins.
I'd say we could move on to the champion hurdle pretty quickly because of the banker treble for the week. He'd be the first leg for me. I think Menswear, it's still in my memory. His jump was at 4 out at Fairyhouse. He absolutely winged the 4th last. I love the turn of foot he showed from the back of the last. I can't for the life of me understand how people thought this horse was going to be a 3-miler as a 5-year-old around Cheltenham over fences. He's loads of pace, and he jumps. The jump in the last day, I don't think it was as bad as what people were making out. He was. I think he'll have learned a lot from, and Mark Walsh will have learned a lot. Not too often you see Mark Walsh without cover. He was very, very taken with Menswear. I would have been against him. I would have been with Menswear against Sergino. So I mean, if I'm with him against Sergino, I think I have to be with him against Loda Sudden only by night getting £7, don't they, Dave?
Boylesports. Don't just bet. Choose wisely.
So the champion hurdle is fascinating. Boylesports have a fantastic offer called Lengthen the Odds. They'll be giving you odds on the Constitution Hill to win by 2, 4 or 6. You'll need a lot more than that, Thomas Coyle, because he is going to come up the hill and win the champion hurdle, isn't he?
Yeah, I agree. It just, you don't know what way the race is going to go. Like me personally, I can't see either of the mares going. I'd say Barry Doyle probably have a collision there now with me saying this, but for me, I can't see them going. I think they have a better chance of winning the race going to the mares race, which will leave the champion hurdle wide open for Constitution Hill. I think State Man will follow them up the hill, but be 4 or 5 runners. I know. Just off in the back on the Lossiemouth on the back of that fall, I think it's a lot to ask for her to go and try and beat a good Constitution Hill again, who I think will have improved from when he bet her earlier in the season as well. Brighter days ahead. I think the fact that they're saying next Monday, if they were going for the champion hurdle, it would be nailed on and saying, we're ready for Tuesday week. But I'd say Barry Doyle has a few things to say about it. But for me, Constitution Hill wins it.
Barry, come on, let us in on your take on the champion.
Well, you've moved off Lassie Mount, Dave. I'm keeping the faith with her. I think she wasn't right at Kempton, and there's no way. I mean, if you said to me after Fairyhouse she wouldn't be able to lay up over 2 miles, and she would have been under pressure that far out, I suppose, to keep up with the opposition, I would have been very, very shocked. I think she's a 2 miler. I think at Fairyhouse you could see even in the early part of the race over 2.5 miles they weren't going quick enough for her whatsoever. Obviously she's won the mares last season. I think the 2 mares will take on Constitution Hill. I think, why wouldn't they? I think it'll set it up nicely for maybe Jade de Grugy to go off a short price favourite for the mares herd. I wouldn't be with her mind in that particular contest, but I think Jade de Grugy will go off favourite for the mares. And I think Lossiemouth, I'm going to keep the faith. I think Paul Townend will ride Lossiemouth. I think getting £7, it's not ideal, obviously, what Thomas said, coming in off the back of a fall. I understand that. I just think £7. You'll have King of Kingsfield in there. He'll be the pacemaker for Brighter Days Ahead. She'll pick it up. I think Lossiemouth will be written cold by, I'd imagine, Paul Townend. I cannot see how he would choose Stapeman, who's had his go at Constitution Hill in a champion hurdle already. To me, I don't think he finished out his race brilliantly at Leopardstown. They were going some clip early on there. I mean, that was going to turn into an absolute grueler at Leopardstown. I just think Lossiemouth, for me, she's getting the £7. I'm going to stay loyal with her. I think she's very, very good. And I think she is a 2 miler. And for her to get within 2 lengths, Dave, at Constitution Hill, who for the first time came off the bridle at Kempton and got a couple of reminders. We've never seen that before. If that was Constitution Hill of old and Constitution Hill of 2023 vintage, I don't think he's coming off the bridle there whatsoever. I don't think he's the same horse. He's 8 years of age. I think there's only been 3 of the last 18 winners of the champion hurdle have been 8 years of age, and only 2 horses, I think, in the history of the game, including Hurricane Fly and Comedy of Hers, have actually regained the champion hurdle. It's not going to be simple. There's 2 mares getting £7 here off Constitution Hill. I think the 2 of them have a go. I think she'll be the one, Lossiemouth, to prevail. That's my take on it.
Before we head into the ad break, here's some things back at you. I think that we need to say it to you. Paul Townend will not ride Lossiemouth, in my opinion. He's going to stay loyal to Statemen. Why would you go on Lossiemouth? Thomas, I'd like just to get you into this. If you were Paul Townend, Lossiemouth or Statemen, for me, you'd have to stick with Statemen. He's the tried and trusted runner over the 2 miles. He's done it all. And okay, the performance the last day, look, we don't know what it was or what it wasn't because of the way the race cut up. He's the reigning champion hurdle winner, whether, again, not his fault, Constitution Hill wasn't in the race last year. But if you're Townend and you're looking at this, surely you have to say Stateman is the mount for the champion.
Look, I think he'll stay loyal as well, because you don't know the ill effects on a filly, how bad, like you see, all seen it was one hell of a fall. And coming on the back of that, it'd be very hard to get off, as you said, a previous winner to get on the filly that's taken a cruncher the last day.
Stateman has absolutely zero chance of beating
I actually
Constitution
agree with
Hill.
you. I don't think he will beat Constitution Hill, and you said it as well. Like Leopardstown, even though he flopped at Christmas, Leopardstown suits him a lot better than Cheltenham going up that hill. But to be honest, I think he's probably very lucky that Lossiemouth fell, because that would have left some mark on them if they kept racing at that pace till they turned in. They wouldn't have been able to keep it up. It was frantic. That would have left one hell of a mark on him, and he would have had no chance, in my opinion, if they raced around. But to be honest, like I can't see past Constitution Hill. You're saying he had to get a few slaps to beat Lossiemouth. Barry, he was ring rusty himself. Like, he hadn't run in so long.
He was absolutely thrilled to the nines. He was backed off the boat. If your horse is off the track over a year, Tom, you're having them absolutely. You're not going to be turning up now.
Yeah, but you have to. She had the run in Fairyhouse in November as well. She was match fit. Like, there's no. He's going to improve. Like,
oh, there's no doubt. He's going to improve a couple of stone. There's no doubt about it. And listen, Barry, we're going to stop.
Dave will have a match bet who Paul Townend rides. He'll ride Lossiemouth. Go for it. Do you want a match bet?
Yeah, you go
lunch,
on.
Lunch the week at Cheltenham.
Lunch the week at Cheltenham. You're always on about it. You're looking for a pizza every day at work. So look, if there's a pizza on this from Dunn Stores. That's the deal. Right, listen, Constitution Hill, we're with, and Barry is going to be with one of the two mares. We're heading into the first ad break. Lots more to come on this wonderful Champ.ie build up the Cheltenham show.
Yes, so hello, Barry Doyle from the Champ.ie podcast, Ireland's premier horse racing podcast. I'm here with my co-host, David Byrnes, and we're here in Sligo Town, David, in EJ Menswear, and EJMenswear.com. Fantastic season ahead. EJ has kindly partnered up with us to be the men's fashion partner with Champ.ie for the season. And David, we're suited and booted. You're looking sharp.
Yeah, well, thanks very much. And this fantastic bundle and this outfit we're wearing is costing $2.99. It sets you up beautifully for the racing season ahead, which includes Leopardstown at Christmas, Thyestes Day at Gowran Park, and of course, if you want to go even bigger, you can get togged out for the Cheltenham and Entry festivals later on in the season.
Absolutely, and of course, check out the Champ.ie podcast right throughout the season, Mondays and Thursdays, and look at the offer, the tailored bundle for the racing season, $2.99, blazer, shirt, chino, socks and shoes. What's not to like, lads? Check out EJMenswear.com.
Yes, on to the turners. We move on Wednesday, Barry, and your nap pick of the meeting runs in this one.
Yes, nap pick of the meeting. This is a proper Rolls Royce now, Dave. We're all over Final Demand heading into Leopardstown. I loved his debut at Limerick. The way this horse goes through his races, I think, he settles. How well he jumps as well. He's only had 2 starts now over hurdles, obviously. Came from the point-to-point field, given plenty of time by Willie Mullins. This horse, I think, is everything you want in a race horse. He's plenty of pace. People were calling for this horse to go up and trip after Nathaniel Lacey. I thought he showed loads of boot, and his cruising speed in the middle part of the race and his jumping ability, 2.5 around Cheltenham on the old course will be absolutely tailor-made for Final Demand, in my view. And look, I'd say he's ground versatile. That's not going to be an issue. I love the way he ran up in Paul Townend's hands off the bend. We saw it with many a good horse at Leopardstown. The Nathaniel Lacey actually hasn't exactly fired out Turner's novice hurdle winners, but it can be a very, very good pointer for the festival. His form as well, Dave, is absolutely rock solid. His maiden win, of course, at Limerick. I think the second, the third, if not the fourth, might have come out in one since. Will the Wise has won twice, including, of course, at that Pertemps qualifier at Naas at the weekend as well. So the form is absolutely rock solid. And he absolutely demolished them at the Dublin Racing Festival. I don't see personally how the new line beats Final Demand, but you might be different. For me, he's the nap pick of the whole festival.
Yeah, I don't think it's a case of being different, but the new line, I think, has certainly plenty of potential as well. I suppose we're looking at all these Willie Mullins superstars at Thomas heading into Cheltenham, but there's going to be a challenge or two as well to come from the home team at Cheltenham.
There is, and the new line, I suppose, with his big price tag and JP's colours on now. The only thing I'd be worried about if it did turn up soft, where Final Demand seems very versatile. Like the new line, I think he was non-runner 3 times before he even ran because of soft ground. Now look, obviously, surely the weather is going to pick up now in the next couple of weeks, but it'd be just another one. But look, he's done nothing wrong. He's unbeaten. But for me, he'll have a lot to do now to beat Final Demand. He's been, him and Kopek de Boers have been probably the 2 best novices, as Barry said earlier. To have Willie Mullins go out into a stable and look at them each morning, you'd be up at all hours just to go out and make sure they're all right. But for me, he wins as well. I think he'd be a very hard bet in this. There's not really anything sticking out. I suppose it's kind of hard to know between the Turners and what's going for the Albert Bartlett, but we know this lad's going for the Turners, and I think he could be one of the bets of the meeting as well.
Yes, he certainly look. I think that is the case, that he's going to be looking like one of the most solid bankers of the week. We'll move on, lads, and we're going to take a look next, Thomas, at the Brown Advisory. What stands out here for you?
I think this is a cracking race between Ballyburn, Dancing City, and I know me and Barry to be talking a bit. Lecky Watson has got a lot of mentions all year. For me, probably the value's probably gone out with Lecky Watson a bit now. I think he's down to single figures. Would have to jump a little bit better. Dancing City, I thought was brilliant and nice. He bet 2 good horses in Bioluminescence and Goodland, who's a Grade 1 winner. He's solid. he just seems to go out and do what he has to do. He's kind of no nonsense, a bit like the Meath footballers at the minute, Barry, going out and just getting the job done. Ballyburn obviously is the star of the race. He probably will be hard bet, but like I don't think Paul Townend has nailed his colours to the mast yet on which one he's riding either, has he? It'll be an interesting decision. Like obviously you're going to see how the horses work up. This week is probably the biggest week of the life of them horses to see which one is really firing. But to me, I think this could be a cracking race because Dancing City is definitely no back marker. Even there's not a whole lot between, as I said, him and Lecky Watson, even on the Albert Bartlett last year. But I do think Dancing City will jump a bit better than Lecky Watson, and that would put him ahead in my order anyway. Ballyburn, Dancing City, and Lecky Watson. But I think this could be a cracking race.
Yes, I certainly think it could be a cracking race. Barry, Lecky Watson, I know you're good friends with the lads involved in Lecky Watson. Done nothing wrong this season, and potentially could be plenty more improvement to come over fences.
Yeah, like he's a horse, Dave. I think he's become more of a man this season. I mean, we used to see it in his bumper days. He was, quite hard on himself. He was placed in the champion bumper and had, I suppose, in the early part of last season, he formed tied in with Slade Steele in graded company prior to heading to the Cheltenham Festival. We were, I suppose, singing his praises heading into the Albert Bartlett. I don't think he got enough cover maybe in the Bartlett. Look at the Bartlett last season. I suppose the prominent runners, I think the first three that bounced out over 3 miles were the first three to come home in the Albert Bartlett: Stellar Story, the Jukebox Jury, and obviously Dancing City. So Lecky Watson, I just don't think we saw the best of him over hurdles. I think he's 2 from 2 now over fences. Disagree with Tom. I think he actually jumps quite well. His form reads well. Obviously, his first start over fences, he's beaten the Supreme Novice Hurdle winner in Slade Steele, who I think that's one of life's great mysteries, how disappointing he's been over fences. But, I like this performance at Punchestown as well. I give him a live each way chance. He would be my, I suppose, each way bet in the race. I'm against Ballyburn for the reason that I just don't think he's improved over fences. I couldn't believe Croke Park jumped the last in front of him at Leopardstown, the Dublin Racing Festival.
I just think though, Barry, on that, I actually was surprised Ballyburn really stuck his head down and put a gap, as you said, in Leopardstown. Croke Park jumped it. For me, I didn't think Ballyburn might have had that trait, but he surprised me a bit how much he galloped out to the line that day. I do have to say that. I didn't think he had that in his armour, but he surprised me that day. He did grit it out,
The ground did come up nice as well. I think Gorgeous Tom is definitely worth a good positive mention because in the Drinmore, we saw many a good horse come out of the Drinmore at Fairyhouse, and this horse was really staying on late on. I'd say another couple of furlongs here on decent ground, and Gorgeous Tom could be one that's underestimated for Henry de Bromhead. He's been put away for this, and they could have went for a handicap off maybe a higher weight with Gorgeous Tom. I think it's interesting they're going this route. I think he's a horse with plenty of ability. And they'll be 2 each way, but Lecky Watson would be the main one. I think he's underestimated. I think he's going to be a better chaser. And he's tailor-made for Cheltenham, 3 miles over fences. But Gorgeous Tom, don't rule him out at a big price, 16 to 1, 10 to 1. I think there'll probably be more than the 8 runners in this, and plenty to take on Ballyburn with, Dave.
Yes, absolutely. Lads, Champion Chase, Thomas, going to come to you first on this one. John Bond, Nicky Henderson, form around Cheltenham, not exactly going to... it's the worry, isn't it? Everything else he's done leading into Cheltenham has been on the ball. And you was just saying to yourself, if John Bond had form around Cheltenham and had won there, you'd be saying he probably is the banker. But is that the one concern with John Bond for the champion?
Yeah, definitely, because he's been nearly foot perfect all year up to this. And that's the only one little doubt you have in the back of your mind. I have to laugh because a few years ago when we were doing this and an Ergon name came up, and I think myself and Ronan Groom told Barry Duckett he wouldn't win a bad beginners around Gowran Park, and I think he ended up winning the Champion Chase and everything. So we really had to.
2 of them, Tom.
Yeah, 2 of them.
3 of them.
That was definitely some statement by me that day. But look, we obviously know an Ergon name's only chance really is if it's going to turn up very soft. Do you agree, Barry?
I think the Cheltenham form as well. I mean, just look at the race itself. Just from a John Bond perspective, we've had 6 odds-on favourites turned over in the last 10 years. it's been an absolute graveyard for favourites. You'll hear that, I suppose, plenty over the next couple of weeks. But John Bunn, I mean, he's 17 from 20 over fences. 17 for 20 in his career. He's 11 grade ones, and his only 3 defeats have come at Cheltenham. So I definitely do think he's... Look, one of those 3 defeats was to Constitution Hill in the Supreme Novices Hurdle. I know, I can see you looking on, Dave, to say, well, draw a line through that one, which is fair enough. But he was beaten by El Fabiolo in an Arkle Chase. I mean, you put the 2 of these in here, and, you know, which way do you side on form? You'd think John Bunn. El Fabiola's career has gone one way. John Bunn's career has gone the other. But just looking at the race itself, Energumene, you asked me the question about soft ground. There was 6 lengths between the 2 of them at Ascot. That's like going to Millwall away now on good ground for Energumene to take on John Bunn at Ascot. You know, that's especially given the time of the year as well. There's going to be more improvement to come from Energumene, absolutely. The form with Bambridge as well. I know Bambridge was giving him weight on his return down at Cork in the Hitway, but you know, the form, Bambridge has obviously gone on to win a King George, so the form actually doesn't read all that bad. Dino Blue will go off favourite for the Mares Chase. I mean, she was back in second, 10 lengths when Dino Blue came down. So the form is actually solid enough, and I actually don't think Energumene ran that bad at Ascot. I mean, I would have taken that. And I would think in a race like this as well, with Solness in there, there's going to be plenty of pace in this race. We saw it with Energumene. If the rain fell, I'd love to see Paul Townend do what he did with Energumene in his first champion chase. Ride him cold, let him use his jumping, and let them beat each other up front. And I could just see him coming with a run, tanking into the race. I'll put it to you like this. At the prices, if you were to give me a match bet, well, at the prices at the moment, if you were to give me Solness or Energumene, I know which one I'd be taking. He's 11 years of age, but he's a lightly raced 11-year-old. I think he's only had 14 starts over in his career. Right? He's very, very lightly raced for an 11-year-old. And I think there's every chance that we're underestimating him. He's a good each-way bet at the moment. And there's a chance that he could win 3 champion chases. Absolutely, Tom. He would be my each-way pick at the moment in the race at the prices.
Well, I think personally, if the John Bunn we've seen all season turns up at Cheltenham and does what he's done, Thomas, I think he wins the race. And I'm going to take a chance through the whole talk about Cheltenham that he can actually, you know, do better at the festival this year. I just think he's a different horse, Tom.
Yeah, I do. I just want to give a mention to Marine National as well. I think he's improved with every run this year, and I think if he does get good ground, he'll definitely be thereabouts for an each-way price as well. As Barry said, Solness will probably put his heart in his sleeve and go out. He's done nothing wrong all year either. I don't know, will that maybe have left a little mark in the DRF? Was that his champion chase? Like, because he did go pretty hard in front, but you have to give it to the little horse. He's definitely improved no end this year. But I just thought Marine National, if it did come, you can see signs of revival. Now we're still talking about a horse that's been only beaten. I think he's been beaten 4 times over fences, unbeaten in bumpers, unbeaten in over hurdles. But I think they might be just trying to peak him. And look, it'd be a lovely story after all the hardship we've had in the last few weeks with Michael. So it would be a telling story. So hopefully he can run well.
Just a correction, Dave. Energumene, he's had 14 starts over fences to Solness' 17, and he's 7-year-old. He's a 7-year-old, and Energumene's 11. So he is very, very likely race for his age. And yeah, Marine National, interesting, Tom, the point you make. I mean, he really hasn't become the chaser I think a lot of people thought he was going to be. Was there wind issues there last season as a novice chaser? He's been disappointing. The ground would probably want to be on the nicer side, would it, for Marine National, I think?
100%. And obviously that will help for his wind as well if that was the issue. But I just thought definitely the last day in Leopardstown, he travelled with more zest than everything. I thought there was a revival coming. So he's definitely one that you'd be keeping an eye on for the week.
Boylesports. Don't just bet, choose wisely.
Yes, and welcome back to the Champ.ie podcast. And delighted to be joined in the podcast by, of course, a man based in France and with an exciting book of rides, of course, at the Cheltenham Festival. Of course, French-based jockey James Reveley. Very welcome to the show, James.
Hi, thanks for having me.
You must be really getting excited now. Ile Francais, of course, Stencil, JetBlue amongst some of the entries for Cheltenham, and so you must be really looking forward to the week.
Yeah, there are 3 horses, 3 French hopes, strong French hopes actually. So fingers crossed, everything goes according to plan the next fortnight.
Followed your career, I suppose, as a rider, James, in the north of England. Tell us briefly before we get into the Cheltenham Festival, how did you end up in France? And talk us through your career and how it's progressed.
Yeah, I was originally sent over to Guillaume Macaires, who was the champion jumps trainer at the time, by my first boss, Nicky Richards. A group of 5 of us came over for a 3-week working holiday. Loved it, and then I ended up coming back. Guillaume Macaire invited me to come back for a bit longer to be his conditional jockey over the summer months, so I did, and it just took off from there really. I did a few winners that season, and then I kept going back every summer until I eventually moved over here in 2016 full time, where it really took off. Really, I was getting on some top class horses throughout the year.
And just speaking off air there, I did say to you, did you get fond of the Bordeaux Red, or was it the Chateauneuf de Pop, or how on earth did you find a woman from France and end up settling down? It must be, I suppose, it's amazing the way life goes, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a good lifestyle. I must admit, yeah, like a little glass of Bordeaux red wine from time to time, and yeah, I've just made my life over here. I'm enjoying it, and no plans to come back to the UK just yet, anyway.
And tell us about, I suppose, your base now at the moment. Where are you based, for anyone watching that maybe doesn't know? And you're obviously your connection with Noel George and Amanda Zetterholm.
Yeah, I live just outside Chantilly, which is 3/4 an hour drive north of Paris. Been up here since 2021, and it's top class training centre. You have every facility you need for to train a racehorse. Noel and Amanda have got set up there a few years ago. They had a great start, so they're probably my main yard now. But before then, I was obviously working for Guillaume Macaire. He was down in Royan in the southwest of France, so it's a completely different area and type of training, but it was all good experience.
Talk us through, I suppose, the lifestyle and the difference between, I suppose, riding and the lifestyle in the UK versus France.
There's probably a lot more jumps racing anyway in the UK. I was racing most days when I was up north, around Sedgefield, Catterick, Kelsos, Carlisles, and then a bit in Scotland, Ayres and Musselburghs and things like that. I was quite busy, to be honest. Probably less travelling in the UK. France is a vast country. Less racing less often during the week, but when I am racing, I'll be travelling quite a lot to every corner of France, really. Especially during the summer months. But the main part of the season over here is the spring and the autumn, and most of the racing around then is centralised around Paris. So got Auteuil and Compiègne and Fontainebleau, which isn't too bad. It's not too far from Chantilly, which was a little bit of the reason I moved up north to Chantilly, north of France. But before in Ryanair, I had a hell of a lot of travelling to do, and it's a lot better lifestyle now. I can, be riding out a lot more and get to the races quicker than I used to be able to.
And obviously, looking over the last 6 months, I think I've read over 60 winners, James. The season's really going well for you. And the flagship horse, obviously, heading to the festival, second in the King George, a Grade 1, of course, winner at Kempton in the, of course, back in 2023. Il est Francais won the Cato Star, of course, Novices Chase at Kempton. And I suppose the big question for you is, who do you take on, Jambon or Factifoil?
Yeah, it's a very good question. We still don't know for sure what we're doing. Like Noel and Amanda don't know what they're doing exactly yet, I don't think. And if they do, they haven't told me anyway. But I think they're leaning slightly more towards a Ryanair. For me, he has loads of pace. He could bowl along in a 2-miler any day. But John Bond obviously is a very good horse. He looks unbeatable. A lot of people are saying he doesn't go that well at Cheltenham, but he looked impressive to me there in the last time he ran there. So we'll see. But Ily Fonse has been very impressive around Kempton when he's run there anyway. And to be fair, it's the only 2 tries he's had in the UK, and he's taken to it very well. Cheltenham will be a completely different kettle of fish for him, but hopefully the ground will be decent and we'll get into a good rhythm and put up a good show.
It must be some thrill riding a horse like him. I mean, There's probably very few, if any, horses that actually jumps with the same zest as Ile Francais.
Absolutely, he's so quick from A to B. He's an impressive horse to watch and to ride. He covers a lot of ground when he gallops very easily, very easy mover. And as I say, he pings off the good ground over the bigger type of fence that we have in the UK. Whereas in Auteuil, he's run a few times there over fences, and with all the different types of jumps, like the bullfinches and the double barriers, and he just tends to jump them quite big and put a lot of effort into his jumping around there, whereas in the UK seems to be a lot more laid back and happy.
Did anything come to light, James, after Auteuil? Obviously, he disappointed there early in the season before heading to Kempton.
Yeah, he obviously had a little problem, bleeding problem in Auteuil, but Nolan Manor have sorted that out. He seems fine since. Obviously, put up a good show on Boxing Day, and he seems in very good form. I ride him out quite often, so.
You must have thought you must have thought that you had Banbridge and Cole well cooked turning in. I mean, it was some performance.
Yeah, when I looked behind, I couldn't believe how far ahead I was, because I was going so easy. And then he did come a little bit to the end of his tether, 2 out, and I was running on empty coming to the last. And unfortunately, he couldn't quite hold off. But Banbridge is obviously a top class horse, and fair play to him. He came up and put it to us, but beat all the rest very, very comfortably. So if you could come back to anywhere near that form, I think you'd have a great shout at Cheltenham.
Yes, and James, wanted to ask you about Stencil, obviously 4 years of age, 2 from 3 at Compiègne and a good second to East India Dock at Cheltenham. That form reads quite strong, James.
Yeah, I was very happy with him that day at Cheltenham. Travelled strongly like he'd showed in his previous races in Compiègne. Strong traveller, showed a lot of class, and it was a great run for me at Cheltenham. I think he's improved off that. He had a nice gallop the other day on the grass, so he should come there spot on. And I think obviously proved his handle at Cheltenham. He's a strong horse, and I think he should handle the hustle and bustle of a busy handicap.
I was going to say actually, James, on Stencil. I mean, he's 4 years of age, but he looks imposing.
Yeah, he's a good looking horse, strong horse. He'd be a nice chaser, I would think, for the future. But was happy with the way he jumped over the British hurdles the last day. He pinged everyone, I think. So I just want to get him into a good position, and hopefully he'll have a good run.
I mentioned just his record at Compiègne, James, just on his sole defeat in his he's 2 from 4, but his defeat in November, he was 6-7. Were you a little bit maybe disappointed with his run on that occasion?
Yeah, we're extremely disappointed. We thought, he was probably one of the, or if not the best 3-year-old in France at the time. We thought we were unbeatable. I just probably rode him a little bit too confidently. Maybe sat a little bit too far off the pace, as he'd been keen in his previous runs. I thought I'd drop him right out and take my time. And in hindsight, we probably just left him a little bit much to do, and he didn't quite. He made up his ground coming to 2 out, and then he just didn't have enough left at the end. He maybe wasn't quite right on the day as well. I'm not so sure, but horses can all have off days, and that was one of his.
The British handicapper, obviously today 135. Are you confident he can be very competitive off that?
Yeah, I think it's a reasonable mark for him. As I say, we hold him in high regard. We thought he was one of the best out here last year. It's never easy at Cheltenham in them handicaps. Not saying we're chucked in or anything, but I think we've got a workable mark, and you should hopefully be competitive.
Jet Blue, obviously trained by David Cotton, give you a big day, of course, on Trials weekend. A Grade 2 winner over 3 miles of a hurdles now. And he was Group 1 placed over 1.5 miles on the level. He's very versatile, this horse.
Yeah, the horse has a lot of class. Never seems to get tired. He's a strong stayer. He showed that on the flat and over jumps. Handle soft ground. I think there's a bit of room for improvement on his Cheltenham run, because he wasn't too slick early doors, and then he got better as the race panned out. But I was impressed with him that day, and hopefully have a good chance as well.
I was going to say, actually, because the Albert Bartlet sometimes, James, they can go quite hard early. Is that maybe, obviously the French style of racing versus racing, I suppose, in the UK? Would you be confident he can lay up early and go that gallop and be in contention?
Well, he has the pace. Yeah, he has the pace. His jumping would need to be slicker than it was the last time. But hopefully it will be. I try and jump him off in a bit better position and get pushed along a little bit. So if his jumping can stay slick, then he's got the class, he's got the ability to lay up, and if they go a strong gallop, it'll just bring out his staying power.
And are you confident he can be a big player in the Bartlett?
Yeah, we obviously don't know how good he is. He's relatively unexposed. He's only had the one start in the UK, and his 2 runs this season around Auteuil were very good. So we'll see how good he is on the Friday.
ICO Madrick is a horse, obviously, for the Cotton stable as well. Entered up in the cross country. Is that a horse you think could potentially give a good account?
Yeah, he's a decent horse. He'll have a lightweight. It was unfortunate at the last day where he got a little bit hampered, I think, at the entry style fence. But he's a classy horse that's put up some good performances in Auteuil. So I think in a race like that, he could be competitive off a low weight. Yeah.
Yeah, so James, before we do wrap up, I want to wish you a very, very best of luck at the Cheltenham Festival itself, and you must be relishing the opportunity with the likes of Stencil, JetBlue, and Le Francais. One, I suppose, a question I wanted to ask you, a dark horse maybe to follow for the rest of the season, maybe one that we can put into the trackers. What are you going to go with?
You put me on the spot there. Let me have a think. El Clavel. He's one with Nolan Amanda as well. He's unbeaten in his 2 runs over jumps, over hurdles. He's a really nice horse.
Yes, great to hear from James Reveley. And Barry, as always, great interview, and wishing him all of the very best at Cheltenham.
Absolutely. He's been a great life for himself, of course, over in France. Dave, fond of the Bordeaux Red, and nice and settled over there. 60 winners, I think, in the last 12 months, and absolutely flying. We'll discuss Le Francais' chances in a couple of moments' time. And just don't forget as well, of course, 5cast, which is up on screens. Enter down below, put in your 5 selections, the championship races, and a chance to win 2 tickets to the Boylesports Irish Grand National, of course, on Easter Monday. Champion Hurdle, Champion Chase, Steers Hurdle, Ryanair Chase, and the Gold Cup. What's up next, Dave?
What's up next? It's the Mayor's Novices Hurdle we're going to take a look at, where 6.5 for Gavin Cromwell is our in around 3-1 favourite. The one I really like in this race is Maureen. I thought there was so much to like about the performance last time out. Second in the betting. And Barry, your take on the Mayor's Novices Hurdle. Which way would you be siding of the top 2 in the betting, or maybe with a bigger price one?
Yeah, I'd be siding against the top 2. I think 6.5 for me. I'm not sure the form is strong enough. I think she's been very much a talking horse. Maureen, similar. I think Maureen now is a nice prospect long term. She's a big scopy mare. She's only had the 1 start over hurdles. She's been all the rage for this for a long time. I thought she's been far too short in the betting for this ever since before a ball was kicked this season even. Obviously a bumper winner from last season, but she's only had the 1 start over hurdles. I think I'd like to have a mare heading into this contest with a little bit more experience. I think 5 of the last 6 favourites of this particular contest were actually on place. So we can get strange results in this particular contest. And the UK actually have a good record. They've won the last 3. Golden Ace won the race last season, of course, turning over what I suppose a lot of Irish people thought heading into the festival was I suppose the brighter days ahead, and Jade de Grugy, a lot of people had those as bankers heading into the festival. So the one I like actually is Caroline Bamboo, as Jerry Hannum would say. I think I love the way she progressed, Dave. Look, she came with a big reputation off the level in France. She's really good form from France. And I was disappointed with her on debut at Naas. Now, the ground was very, very quick at Naas on her first start. She was absolutely smashed off the boards. And I just wonder, was the ground a little bit quick? I think I heard David Casey actually mentioning on the Boylesports Cheltenham Festival preview night down at Limerick Racecourse. If anyone hasn't watched it, of course, head over to the Boylesports channel. But I thought it was interesting. David Casey said it was the Christmas money for the stable staff and she let them all down. I loved their run at Caroline Bamboo at, I I particularly loved her run at Fairyhouse last time. I thought it was no messing. It was Mark Walsh. You don't see it too often. He booked her out, made all in the race, but her jumping was brilliant. I thought she settled. I loved her way of racing as well at Fairyhouse last time. She'd Qualamita well cooked when she came down. She won by 2 lengths. Easily it could have been, I'd say, 10 or more. She could have won as far as she wanted. She was eased down close. I think there's a lot more to come from Caroline Bamboo. As I mentioned, her form from France reads well. And she would be the one for me. Look, she was double figure. She's now into single figures. She'd be the one for me in the mares, the Dawn Run Mares Novices Hurdle. I could see her arriving there on the proverbial bridle, Dave. And Caroline Bamboo, I think she's a good bet at a price.
Yeah, and I know you've mentioned there about Maureen being, maybe lacking a bit of experience. But Thomas, the way she won, I just thought there was lots to like about it. And out of the establishment of Willie Mullins and Klaus Sutton, with a one like this, there could be any amount of untapped potential yet to come for her next start at Cheltenham.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. And coming from that camp, the one thing that worried me about Maureen, we're saying inexperience, and I'll come back in a second, but she's run twice. In her bumper, she stayed wide away from Everton, took a keen hold, and in her maiden hurdle, she jumped off and virtually made all. This will be a hustle and bustle now. There'll be plenty in this, I think, and I think that might catch her out. Where on the other hand, 6.5 has come from a flat background. She'd run an Irish Cesarewitch with 30 runners. I know she was handy away, but she's used to at least some bit. So I don't think that'll be as an experience. I don't think it's a disadvantage to her. She knows what racing's about. Plus, I think we've had 3 schooling days in Fairyhouse over the last 10 days. I'm pretty sure she'd have been up there in a schooling hurdle to have a little tip around as well. So I don't think jumping's going to be an issue for 6.5. I actually really like her. I think she'll win this. Obviously her third in Irish Cesarewitch. She won a good handicap in Newmark as well under Rob Werkey. I actually remember I actually met Rob that night when he flew back in, and he couldn't believe he actually said when he turned in he was riding away, and he looked up and there was still four lengths to go, and he was like, oh my god, I'm going to get here way too early. I think himself and another horse kicked well clear. But she has plenty of experience for me in good handicaps. Look, coming from Gavin's, you see the setup he has. They're jumping every day of the week if they have to. I genuinely think she wins, and I've heard Gavin say she's his best bet of the week for him. But I'd have to agree, and I think she's going to take all the beating in it.
Right, let's move on, lads, to the Ryanair Chase. This is fascinating because
that's that our County Meath bias, but go on.
You had to get the dig in there. Let's move on to the Ryanair then. And Thomas, come to you first here. Factify currently top of the betting. Of course, we have Ile Francais, who could be very interesting for this Ryanair Chase. What's your take on this year's renewal?
Yeah, look, I think Factify will have to go here, wouldn't he? Look, we've seen behind Gallop in the Champs, he's not good enough to beat him. And I think over another furlong, it's not going to happen. So I hope he rocks up here. I suppose there's not a whole lot between him and Spillane Tower on the John Durkin run. Spillane Tower probably disappointed in Kempton, all right, but probably he's been freshened up and kept away. So should be an interesting race. For me, Factify probably this probably optimum trip for him. I'd say he could be hard betting this, but I wouldn't put it away from 2 JP McManuses coming up that hill again, like the John Durkin. It's an interesting race, but I think it could be a springboard as well, maybe to next year to a Gold Cup for one of these horses. But at the minute, I'd be siding with Factify in this.
With that in mind, Barry, it could just be pointing to us at this point that Spillane's, or should I say, Factify is the number one choice for the Ryanair.
Yeah, no, I think he'll go here. Definitely, it's the right decision. He's seen Gallop in the Champs backside on 2 occasions this year, and I don't think they fancy looking at it a third time. And look, I suppose I thought it was interesting. Emma Kennedy was speaking on the final furlong podcast earlier on the week, and I think he made an interesting point that if there's any horse in here, to run to 170 or beyond, there probably is Factify. The only thing I would say about that is, how do you read the Grange Clare West piece of form? Should he be finishing ahead of Factify, even though it was 3 miles at Leopardstown? And I know he's good form around Leopardstown. He would have grade 1, I think, Grange Clare West. But for me, that just would be a worry, because I would have had it 5s on that Factifile would have finished ahead of Greenish Clare West over 3 miles at Leopardstown. So I thought that was just a little bit too close for my liking. And I just wonder.
Sorry, Barry, I did hear Willie saying though that they had changed the tactics that day, and that won't be happening again. So like you have to take that into consideration as well. I think they rode Factifile probably to beat Gallop and the Champs that day, and it probably blew up a little bit in their face, did it?
I can see that, like, because he travelled into the race, absolutely. I just didn't like what I saw from Factifile from the back of the last, in truth. I would have expected him to run to the line a little bit better than he did. And it's just nagging at me for some reason, especially at 6-4 as well. Look, I thought interesting, Willie Mullins obviously has won 5 of the last 9 Ryanairs, and 9 of the last 13 winners were either favourite or second favourite. So sometimes it pays in this race to not complicate it too much. And the second favourite, I think he'll go here, and I'm warming to him, is Il Est Francais, the French horse. I mean, obviously a Grade 1 winner as a novice around Kempton on decent ground. The ground, I think, if it's good to soft here, 2.5 miles is definitely the right race for Il Est Francais. He had them absolutely cooked, didn't he? Apart from the wonder ride from Paul Townend on Banbridge. I mean, Paul Townend won the day at Kempton. I thought it was a fantastic ride. Probably you'll struggle this season to see a better ride than what Paul Townend gave Banbridge in the King George. Il Est Francais had everything else cooked. I think he bet Le Ham Press by 10 plus lengths. I thought it was a really good performance in defeat by Il Est Francais. He's an electric jumper, and I think it pays as well. I'm not sure the exact stats, but if you're to look back at the last 10 to 15 Ryanair Chase winners, I would imagine a large portion of them actually are prominent or up there on the pace. So you need to be up there in the van, to use the phrase, Dave. He jumps brilliantly. And I actually think that arguably is the best piece of form coming into the Ryanair Chase this season, was that King George second.
Let's move on, lads, to the Stayers Hurdle, because this, again, Tihupu is a very short price favourite. And I was I just thought home by the lead, Thomas Coyle, the way he won at Leopardstown. I thought it was very, very encouraging. Obviously, we haven't seen Tihupu that much this season. Firstly, is that a little concern going into the race? Like, I know he likes to be fresh and kept fresh by Gordon, which he's taken the approach with many of his horses, as we've seen from the Dublin Racing Festival. But just thought in around the 6-1 mark, home by the lead for Joseph O'Brien, surely can't be out of this year's Stayers.
Oh no, definitely not. He's done nothing wrong, and he's been impressive in it. But the horse he's beaten twice this year is Bob Ollinger, who's a 25-1 shot in the race. Like that's the only thing. Does the form really stack up to what he's been beaten? I don't think so. Look, he's done. He couldn't do he couldn't do it any better than what he went out and have to do. And to get another Grade 1 success is a great job. For me, Tihupu, you're saying, Gordon, this is the plan all year, to run in Fairyhouse and then keep him fresh for here. All the reports coming out of there, you can hear that he's saying he's his best bet and that. So, look, he's done it before. He'll have him for cherry ripe for the day. Just one, I thought, maybe an each way price. Another one of Gordon's, the Wall Park. Interesting that, again, he's in the JP colours. Probably a little bit, he wasn't beaten far in Ascot the last day behind Crambo, and maybe got a little bit further back but stayed on well. I did hear he worked in Navan a week ago after racing and went very well. So look, sporting them colours, you'll always have a chance. So I think he's a good each way bet in this race as well.
And for you, Barry, what do you like in this year's Stayers?
Tihupu, I think he'll take plenty of beating, David. I think you mentioned, obviously the fresh angle. I'd probably say that's a positive with Tihupu again. And I was shocked and I was delighted last year when Gordon Elliott announced after Fairyhouse that he was going straight to the Stayers Hurdle, because I think his best form is fresh. And, the more juice in the ground, the better his chance. But I think in truth, he's probably 10 pounds, close to a stone better than anything else in this race at his best form. If you look at, I suppose, on official ratings, Rocky's Diamond, he definitely needs to improve. But I think it's intriguing that, he's having just his 7th career start in a Stayers Hurdle. And, Flory Porter went in slightly under the radar, I think, for his first Stayers. Rocky's Diamond, where is the ceiling? That's the big question with him. We don't know how good he could be. I liked what he done in the Galmoy. I think, Dave, you were all over him down in Gowran Park for the Galmoy Hurdle, and you were proven absolutely spot on. He was there to be shot at off the bend. They went actually quite steady early in Gowran Park and turned into a little bit of a dash. There was plenty in contention coming down to the last, but I love how he dug it out, and I'd say there's a lot more to come from him. So, the Queelies, razor sharp. We had Declan on before the Dublin Racing Festival. I think he's a big price at 16-1. He's one that could really, really improve. He's only 5 years of age now, heading into a stairs hurdle. That'd maybe be a slight worry or concern, but I just don't think we've seen the best Rocky's Diamond. Each way Rocky's Diamond, but in terms of what we've seen on the track thus far, ratings and the best horse in the race, it is Teahupoo. He's going to be hard to beat. But I do like Rocky's Diamond. I'm intrigued to see how he gets on, Dave.
Absolutely. It's going to be a cracking stairs. Right. We're going into our next ad break. And right after this, we'll hear from Boylesports, Brian O'Keeffe, with all the offers they're going to have throughout Cheltenham.
From Dundalk to Longchamp, from the Galway races to the Breeders' Cup, Shamrock Thoroughbreds have taken owners all over the world.
Tiger Bell in front, holds them. Late on the scene is Dawn Charger storming home, but Tiger Bell in front and won.
Coming through the centre, Laugh a Minute with a strong challenge on this Laugh a Minute, who goes on in the closing stages to win by like the Laugh a Minute from Fiscal Roots.
But it's Harry's Bar repelling the late challenge of the stable companion Dream Today, and Harry's Bar makes it 6-course win.
Check out shamrockthoroughbreds.com or click the link in the Champ.ie podcast video description to learn more about new racehorse ownership opportunities.
Well, Barry and David, countdown's firmly on to the festival at Boylesports. The trading room's in a bit of disarray. I'm actually joining you from Kerry, of all places. But look, we've got lots to look forward to between now and then. Some good racing to whet the appetite and plenty of offers as well at Boylesports. Build your destination Cheltenham free bet bank between now and the 4 days getting underway by betting on qualifying events on site. We've launched our Pick Your Places, so you'll be able to pick whether you want 3, 4, 5, 6 or more places at all races at Cheltenham. And that offer is now live as well across other meetings. And of course, we're non-runner, no bet on all 28 races too. The week itself, plenty of Boylesports offers as well. Extra place races, best odds guaranteed, of course. Price boosts on all of the championship races. And we also have money back offer on every single race at the meeting as well. All that to look forward to. But what people ask me most is, where is the money going at Boylesports? Liabilities, they're starting to build on the Tuesday treble. Copec de Boards, Majborough, Constitution Hill are all being well backed. And of course, with the weights for the handicaps coming out on Tuesday, plenty of movement there as well. Copec de Me is one we're keeping our eye on closely for Willie Mullins. That one's in the Coral Cup, the Martin Pipe and the County Hurdle. Favoured in all three now. People are very much taking advantage of the non-runner no bet. He was as big as 12s. He's as short as 5s and 4s for some of those races. Look, another one that's seen plenty of money, the Changing Man in the Ultima. He's 9s from 16s after being allocated a weight of 10 stone 11. And we've mentioned a couple of Mullins horses. Another one that's seeing cash is Asian Master. That one runs in the new novice handicap. 7-1 rather from 14s. Thomas Costello in the saddle, one of the tallest jockeys in the weigh room. He had a great spin on that horse last year in the Supreme and might just have a good spin as well this year. As for my own fancies, I'm sure plenty won't care, but here they are. Total luck in the Fred Winter for Gavin Cromwell. He's 6-1. He's one I quite like. He's caught my eye. Woodoo in the Martin Pipe was another one I quite fancied, but she might end up in the mares. And speaking of the mares, the big Westerner at 6-1 in the Albert Bartlett for Henry de Bromhead. His horses have really started to turn a corner. Perfect time to hit form ahead of the Cheltenham Festival. I know Barry fancies that one as well. Surely we can't both be wrong, but plenty won't take a tip from a bookie. Cheers, lads.
Yes, great to hear from Brian O'Keeffe of Boylesports, and Brian and the team there will have a very busy week the week at Cheltenham, and some great offers. Check them out on the Boylesports website. Right, lads, we move on. We're going to look at the Triumph Hurdle. It's my nap pick of the week at Cheltenham runs here. East India Doc, what a performance, what a horse he's been. I remember backing him, would you believe, back in the flat earlier in the season over 1.6 miles, and I said, wow, that was a great performance on the day. I think he was 9-4. I got him out on that particular day. Since then, he's been a revelation over hurdles. And East India Doc is my entire nap for the week. Barry, what do you think of the Triumph?
Well, he's my next best of the week, Dave. We'll let you have him for the nap. I think the British juveniles might just be that step ahead of what we've got in Ireland at the minute. I think Lalamba, obviously, inexperience would be a worry for him. But East India Doc has loads of experience. I think he achieved a a rating of 89 on the level. I think he 10 starts, if I'm correct, on the flat before going over hurdles. And obviously 2 from 2 at Cheltenham. I thought he was absolutely brilliant the first day. Really uncomplicated rides. I thought his jumping was absolutely brilliant. And the last day, obviously, put away Stencil, who would give as a big chance for the George team for the Boodles. I think beating him by 10 lengths, like he's no mug the second, and he's absolutely ate him alive there, hasn't he? And his jumping is brilliant. Patrick Mullins likes to use the phrase when he's talking about jumpers, whether it be hurdlers or chasers, but it's like playing PlayStation when you hit the X button and the horse just gets in and pops or pings. That's exactly East India Dock. I mean, he's foot perfect over hurdles, and going to make a bold shout. I actually genuinely think this horse could shape up into a champion hurdle contender next year. I'm not saying he's going to win a champion hurdle, but I think this horse is a really good juvenile. I think he'll win the race, and all the money is obviously James Owen as well, Dave. I think it's worth noting he is a seriously sharp operator, and I really like this performance the last day, and I love particularly how he came up the hill on the new course. I think it'll stand him in good stead. So course form, experience, he ticks plenty of boxes, and he's an excellent jumper.
Yeah, of course. And East India Dock, of course, if Constitution Hill decided to retire after winning this year's champion hurdle, he may very well become a champion hurdle contender. Thomas, the Triumph, as I said, this East India Dock is done nothing wrong, ticks a lot of boxes. Would you be in favour of him for the Triumph, or have you something else for the race?
It's not a race that I would. It's a hard race to pick a winner, I always think. But look, I have seen him. He has done nothing wrong. Course form is a big thing about it. Just going on the Irish form, Hello Neighbour, he's done nothing wrong this side. But for me, I just don't know, will he get up the hill? He looked like he was going an early sprint away from him at the back of the last. Now, I know they said he idled, but for me, I thought he was nearly at the end of his tether. He wasn't going to go much further ahead of them. Saying that, he's unbeaten. He's 2 from 2 on the flat, 2 from 2 over hurdles. He'll go there with a chance. I just thought, just looking through it, and I just picked one out at a big price. If the ground did come up good, Mondo Man for Gary Moore, rated 112 on the flat. He's had 2 runs, probably a bit. He was disappointing the last day, but they did say the ground was the excuse. Just if he can put his flat form to use at a big price there, he might have an each way shout.
Yeah, absolutely. On to the Albert Bartlett, Thomas. This looks quite a trappy race to find the winner of this year. For you, what's standing out?
I'm going to put a bit of a mad one into it here. A horse called Sounds Victorious. Me and Barry have talked to him on the phone about this horse a bit. He won a maiden hurdle on New Year's Day in Fairyhouse. Not that impressive himself. Another Eddie Cawley horse drew away at the end. But at the DRF, if you look at the race, I thought at turning in, he was going to fall out of the screen. I thought he was going to be 9th or 10th, and I couldn't believe when he flashed by in 5th. Done all his best work from the back of the last, and I think the step up in another 3 furlongs will definitely suit this horse. Look, Jasmine DeVoe will have to jump better as well. He's been disappointing. Obviously, the longer trip, if he goes here, will suit him for his jumping, but I just thought, I couldn't believe Sounds Victorious. I'd love to see the stats from him turning in, where I thought he was going to fall out the screen to where he finished. He could be interesting at a decent price in this.
Yes, absolutely, Barry. It's. I was just saying, it's an open looking Albert Bartlett, isn't it, this year? What do you like?
It's an open renewal every year, Dave. If you look at some of the, I suppose, the SPs are the winners. I mean, just looking at one of the key trends for me, Dave, was 9 of the last 11 winners returned 14 to 1 or bigger. So it can throw up one at a price. I think experience, look, we have seen horses win this race in the past, the likes of Manila Endo, who've come in, with little experience. I think Monkfish as well won the race with not a whole pile of experience coming into the contest. But I think experience definitely can be important, and obviously proven form beyond 2 miles 7 furlongs, or at least have ran over that type of trip. The one I like is the Big Westerner. I think she's really smart mare. And look, obviously she's single figures. We're on the challenge on a Monday show. They were on at 25. So let's hope for a big account. I think it's interesting, mares in this particular contest, the Albert Bartlett. People will say how many mares have won the race. I don't think too many have tried. I think only 3 mares, including, I think, Augusta Kate, Salsaretta. I can't remember the third, but there's only been 3 mares, I think, that have tried in this race in the last 10 years. So she'll be the 4th. And Henry de Bromhead, I mean, they seem very, very bullish and quietly confident that she's going to take quite a lot of beating here. I think she's 6-1 at the moment, the big Westerner. And yeah, I loved what she done on debut. I thought the race turned into a bit of a sprint. She's all stamina, but she actually showed a smart turn of foot in a race that wasn't run to suit on debut at Punchestown. The form has worked out well. Argento Boy obviously has come out and won since. I think that was second in the race at Punchestown. And look at the form as well at Limerick over the 2 mile 7 furlongs in that grade 1, of course, contest at Christmas, or that graded race. That could be a real pointer. I think Stellar Story was second in the race last year before going on to win the Albert Bartlett. So it's rock solid form. She's formed against the Geldings. She's a very, very smart mare, and I think she'll take a bit of stopping in it in truth. But look, it is a race that can throw up one of the big price. On the short list, Dave, I have to say Ballyboe, Gigginstown have a good record in the race. I liked what he done at Clonmel. I think Brendan Duke said he took the coat off, didn't he, when he needed to? And this fella love a scrap. But the one I'm most interested in at a big price is Derry Hasten Paddy. We love this horse, Dave. I think he's a real future star for the Lucinda Russell team. They have a good record in the grade 1 at entry, so it'll just be interesting to see if they go to Cheltenham. If they do, I think he's at 20-1. He's massively overpriced. He's plenty of ability, and I'd say he's the best young horse she has in the yard. Without question, he's the best young horse she has in the yard, and I think he's talented. So, yeah, Derry Hasten Paddy, Ballyboe at bigger prices, but we're all aboard the big Westerner. I think Jerry Hannon lost his breath at Punchestown when calling her home on debut.
Absolutely right, lads. The Gold Cup is the feature of the week for many. Probably it could potentially be a very disappointing showing for the Gold Cup. But I think Thomas. I think maybe just when we're on it before we get into it, like the 5 championship races, you have 4. Depends where you look. Odds-on favourites for those championship races. They talk about competitiveness at Cheltenham, but it is a slight concern, isn't it, for such top class races to have such sharp price favourites?
It is, but I suppose if you can get 4 or 5 of them into an accumulator, the punters won't be given out. But
all bar Constitution Hill, go on.
I'm still on that, but no, just back to the Gold Cup. Like, obviously, it's going to be very hard to see him not winning, and hopefully he emulates horses like Best Mate and that. He really is probably a horse of a lifetime that we're probably lucky to be in. And to be honest, he's probably got better this year. His performances in Leopardstown have been awesome. So you just hopefully he gets a clean run to it and can go up there in that stature of being one of the best horses around. Banbridge in this probably doesn't get enough recognition for what he's done. Obviously he got a great ride off Paul to win in Kempton. The ground would have to be very good for me to give him any sort of a chance of even lining up with Gallop and the Champs. They're also 3 mile 2 up that hill. It might just stretch him as well. As you said, this could break up into a bad race, but Corbett's Cross again is another one. We know the trip will suit him going that bit further. The last day was probably a bit short for him in Ascot, and he probably got done for a bit of toe and stayed on to be second. But look, hopefully all roads lead to a good day for Gallop and Champ and the Irish to get out on a good win in a Gold Cup coming into Paddy's weekend.
Yes, absolutely. And Barry, just on Corbett's Cross, Thomas touched on it, because both of us last day, like we were saying, like when you look back on the run itself, wasn't all that bad.
No, it wasn't. I think the grounds would want to be, testing on the Friday for Corbett's Cross. Look, the race is going to cut up. You're going to have less, probably for the first time I can remember anyway. I'm not sure the last time we've had, less than maybe 8 runners in the Gold Cup. That could genuinely be the case this year. It is going to cut up. So if you're going to back one each way in the Gold Cup, back it today, because there's a possibility that the race could have less than the 8 runners, which means you only get 2 places for place terms. So Thomas mentioned, look, Gallop in the show. Interesting, actually, Thomas. I remember once upon a time you tipped Banbridge to win a Martin Pipe. Interesting. I think it was 16-1. Gallop in the Shampoo and a Martin Pipe. All eyes on the Martin Pipe. Throws up a nice horse, first and second favoured for the Gold Cup Martin Pipe winners. Banbridge, if the ground was actually genuinely good, 3 mile 2 furlong. I actually think the trip would be fine for him. He's form on the new course at Cheltenham. Disappointed, of course, at the Ryanair last season, but he didn't have his ground. And, obviously the King George was his big day. Gallop in the Champ, just going to put it out there, he's more than likely going to win the race, Dave. I mean, he's had 17 starts. I mean, I threw mileage at this horse. He seems to be just thriving on his racing. He's disappointed at the back end of the season at Punchestown on 2 occasions in the past, but his Leopardstown form, his Cheltenham form is absolutely rock solid. He's the one to beat here, absolutely. Each way, if the ground was testing Corbett's Cross, I did like his run. A lot of people didn't, but I actually thought his run was good over 2.5 miles at Ascot on, ground that was rattling quick. I was surprised they ran the horse. I was surprised the horse didn't go to Gowran Park actually for the Red Mills, but that will have sharpened up his jumping. And that was the big thing with Corbett's Cross last season. I think over 3 mile and a quarter here, his jumping will be fine. If the ground is soft to heavy ground, he'll be one that can get into the mix at a big price. Corbett's Cross, definitely he's talented. He won the National Hunt Chase by 17 lengths last season, Dave. I mean, after the race, they were talking about him as a Gold Cup contender. This season, it's all been about one day with Corbett's Cross, so he could outrun his odds. There's nothing else that I would be interested in, only the 3 horses that we've mentioned. Ground depending, obviously, Banbridge and Corbett's Cross, each way.
Right, yeah, I think it's very straightforward. That Gold Cup, Gallop in the Champ turns up, he'd probably win it. That's just the way we're all very much thinking. Anything else, lads, before we move on to the best bets and naps for the festival? Thomas, come to you first.
I'm just going to run through a couple of handicaps. I think Jordan's in the novice handicap for Joseph O'Brien. He was a good second to Impere Pass. He's a nice weight of 11.6. He's come from France, so has experience. I know it's a novice handicap, but has more experience of jumping fences. I like that run. He really ran through the line. I think the extra nearly 2 furlongs will suit him up the hill. Also like Firefox is in that as well, and he's also in the handicap later on. He's been consistent. He's kind of come up against good horse. He was 3rd to Marsborough, 2nd to Ile Lantique in his last 2 runs. He could be, I know he's not a wild price, but he could be a good horse for a handicap as well. And I know I was giving out about the JCB or the Triumph Hurdle a few minutes ago, but in the Boodles, just 2 to mention. I think Willie the Hooley, if he runs here, he stayed on really well in Leopardstown the last day. He was only beaten 4 lengths. And I'm going to give a mention to a big outsider. Conor Maxwell will have his first runner for the Ryans. James obviously does a lot here, champion apprentice last year, but Ivan also does a lot here for us, and he's going to have his first spin. He's just about going to get in. He's number 22 with 10 stone 9 on his back. He's 2 good runs. He was 2nd in the Grade 3 on Sunday. He was 2nd.
Cool one, isn't it, Tom?
Cool one, yeah. Sorry. He was 2nd in the Grade 3 on Sunday. The week before, he was 2nd in the maiden hurdle to Willie's good horse, Blue Lemons. He looked decent. And before that, he was 3rd in Nace to another Willie Mullins horse that's just gone out, but has a bit of experience, won on the flat, has plenty of experience for a race like that. I'm not sure if Ivan can claim in that race. It is a handicap, but it definitely would help if he could keep his 7, have him down to 10 stone 2. If he can ride him a bit more patient, I definitely think he'll be one that'll be coming home and might have a small chance of an each way grabbing one of them 4th or 5th spots. So he's one for that as well.
Excellent stuff. And for you, Barry, anything else you'd like to mention?
I think Coco Cabana will win the bumper. I was very impressed with him at Navan. I loved what he done in the last in the last furlong. It looked a deep bumper as well. He's only had the 1 start. People are going to talk about experience. Obviously, the champion bumper, a minefield at times. But this horse, I loved his attitude and the way he went through his race. I think he's a lovely mentality, and I think he'll settle. That won't be an issue. Coco Cabana, so that's one for the bumper. And the other one I like that are going to throw into the mix in the races that we haven't mentioned outside the handicaps, because we're going to keep them for next week, Dave, for next week's show. But Telepathique for Lucy Wadham, I think, as a mare, been really underestimated in a race that I think I'd be happy enough to take on 4 of the top 5 in the betting. The Mare's Chase, Dino Blue for me. On ratings, obviously she looks to have a really good chance in the Mare's Chase, but I wasn't impressed with the Nace form. I think Allegory de Vassy and Dino Blue. Dino Blue's been turned over as a festival favourite on 3 occasions: 15-8, 11-8, 7-2 at the festival. She's been beaten when she's been sent off favourite on 3 occasions. Allegory de Vassy, she's regressive in my opinion. And Telepathique, just on her price. Look, she's 10-1 for Lucy Wadham. She's 4 wins and 5 over fences. Really impressed with what she done from the back of the second last and from 50 yards to the line, and how she jumped at Huntington beating Brides Hill. She was in receipt of £5, I believe, at Brides Hill. People were making her a contender last year and she's probably a big price at Brides Hill, actually, for, if the ground is good, for the Mayor's Chase herself. But Telepathique, very progressive mare, 10-1 for Lucy Wadham on the Friday in the Mayor's Chase. I think she's my each way pick at the festival.
Yes, and of course on that champion bumper as well, it's a cracking. Willie Mullins has the top ones in the market. But what about Heads Up, Thomas? I believe you might have had a little hand to play on him.
Yeah, look, we're really looking forward to seeing him. We've done a lot of work for John McConnell over the last couple of years, and he's one that's come through our hands. We broke him and pre-trained him and sent him on. John liked him. From day one, we all liked him. We knew there was something under the bonnet. Probably took him a couple of runs to understand what was happening, but thought he was very impressive in Punchestown. And didn't run too bad in that list of race in Nav. And I probably thought, they probably even thought they could have made a little bit more use of him. But look, he's a lovely horse, and it's nice to have a little bit of connection with this year's festival. And please God, he'll run a good race for John McConnell.
Thomas Coyle, Nap, and next best for the week of Cheltenham.
I'm going to keep it very simple. My nap is Galloping the Champs, and next best is Kopek the Boards. They've been very impressive this year, and I think, and just my each way selection for the week is going to be Jordan's. When he'll rock into one of them handicaps, he's the one to watch out for.
Barry, I know your nap is your nap is not constitutional for the week. Nap pick for the week and next best, Barry.
Nap pick is Final Demand. Next best is East India Dock. My each way pick in the races that we've discussed. My each way pick is Telepathique. I think in the Mayor's Chase, I think she's a good each way chance, Dave.
Absolutely. I'm going to go with East India Dock as the nap pick and the Triumph Hurdle. I'm going to go for Nürburgring as a next best in the Jack Richards, and I'm also going to give Home by the Lee. I think at the price at the moment, it's a cracking each way bet. Thomas Coyle, it's been an absolute pleasure having you back again. And the check will be in the post very quick. It won't be as long to get paid as it was the last time. Barry, as always, a great pleasure. You're back with the Road to Cheltenham, Barry, on Monday again. What a series it's been, having had some brilliant guests on. And I'm sure you've got another wonderful guest going to be lined up for next Monday.
Yeah, looking forward to it, Dave. And we're episode number 12, I think, on Monday. And we're in a good position, actually, this year, portfolio-wise. But it doesn't always work out. Sometimes when you think you have a good portfolio, it doesn't work out, Dave, heading into the festival. And when you think you have a bad portfolio, one lands at a massive price and your quid's in. So, look, I'd be confident with the challenge that we're definitely on the road this year to profit, and with some fantastic guests, obviously, since the turn of the year. Darryl Jacob, obviously. We've had Brendan Duke, obviously, Andrew McNamara, and more good guests to follow. But Tom, brilliant to have you on once again, and big congratulations on the season last year. And I suppose with a small team, your runners have been absolutely on fire. So if anyone is looking to make contact with Tom Coyle, if you want your horses to be given the TLC in a small stable, who's expanding all the time, Thomas, was brilliant to have you on. And
Thanks,
as we called you, one of the founding fathers of the Champ.ie podcast. 6 years on, we're still going, Tom. So brilliant to have you on once again.
Cheers, lads.